Okay, hello. Really quickly, I'm going to show you guys today how to beat out a TV show. First and foremost, my name is Tim Jackson, creative, writer, producer, director, gaffer, all-around filmmaker, became a talent agent because Hollywood is racist. Here we are. Google me. Gangs of London pilot. So, what is a beat? The best way to describe a beat. A beat is a scene. So a lot of times if you're asked to do a beat sheet, it is to do what would be considered a form of an outline of a script, whether it's for TV or features. In my experiences at UCLA, it's the same daggone thing. As you can see on the screen here, I've got them numbered. There we go. And that. All right, so I have them numbered here. Hopefully you can see that. Smaller. There we go. And we'll just make you bigger. How about that? How does that work? Even better. So this particular one was a show called Gangs of London, which is a pilot that came out. I think it's an IFC channel show, but it did air on AMC network when I watched this particular episode. They're all a part of the same family, if you will. So if you're not familiar with the organizational structure of the majority of the world, two people own everything, basically. So AMC has AMC Networks, AMC Studio, and IFC, and other things that I can't remember, but you can go to Wikipedia and they're all there. And so it's not uncommon for them sometimes to help a show find an audience by putting it on a more mainstream channel with the hopes of coaxing everyone back to this other channel, okay? So, and that's, if I remember correctly, I did this a year ago, actually, so I don't remember what channel it's on, but I know it's AMC something related. Okay, so when this pilot starts off, what you see very right here, very beginning, number one is exterior skyline upside down. I did that because that was our opening image, and so if you're not familiar with Save the Cat, where's my handy dandy Save the Cat book here? There it is. Boom. Save the Cat. Oh, this is probably way too small. Hold on. There you go. Save the Cat. R.I.P. Blake Schneider. Talks about the opening image. And so with that, I wrote that down because for me, that was interesting as an opener. Might use that myself. And then we pull back and we hear a man breathing heavily. Now, you don't have to do this. I will say this, like I said in the description, this is quick and dirty. This is me sitting there with my Chromebook, banging out what I'm seeing on the screen, scene by scene, as this thing progresses. And what it's doing is giving me an overview of every beat of this story. Okay, every time we basically change the location, a new scene is a new number on this page. What was interesting about this show was that the title card apparently appeared at 14 minutes in, which I thought was interesting. So for whatever reason, the executive that supported this vision here was okay with us not getting the rolling credits, after the first 2-3 minutes of the show, which kind of is normally the tradition. So with this, the idea behind this is to help you as an emerging writer start to understand story structure, believe it or not. And sometimes, especially if we use a procedural model, which this show is definitely not procedural, is definitely a serialized series. It's a whole series about a mob boss getting murdered and his son is trying to figure out who it is, but then everybody else is still trying to move loads and freight and he's telling them not to. Like it's gonna get crazy. And then there was a big ass bar fight that was wild. With a procedural, you're definitely going to learn the routine and rhythm. That's why it's called a procedural. It becomes a routine, so much so that where the audience can follow along, okay? Now, if you're just mindless, then you won't notice it and you'll be delightfully surprised every episode. But if you're paying attention, then you're gonna start to notice. It took me probably 50 episodes of Law & Order of actually watching it for real, not just having it on in the background as it airs in syndication every day for me to watch and be like, oh, it's always the first person that they interrogate. So once that veil was lifted for me, then I don't really watch it anymore. I do love organized crime though. That one, that's my jam. All right. So with this opening scene really can make or break your show. It's going to be that attention grabber. A lot of times we use And I even had a conversation with a friend about this today. She was talking about how, Breaking Bad started with this explosion and she was so excited about it. I'm just like, yeah, it's been done so much that I don't even do it. People take that, make your episodes start off with a bang, literally. So a lot of times you'll find that there'll be some huge catastrophic event, an explosion, an accident or something, and then we'll get the flashback where we start off in present day and then they're like, okay, let's take you back to how we got to this point. I still see it, so I can't say that it's played out, to be honest, but it is an option. And so with these guys, they started off with basically murder. Man is hanging upside down, breathing heavily, and we are seeing his point of view. So again, exterior skyline upside down. Honestly, it was probably the slug line, and I think it was dusk-y, if I remember correctly. It was sunset-y. And so we had some significant shots, and I notated those. And so this came up too. I was taught by what I would say were white men who were on Yahoo Messenger in the group chat back when I was about 15, 16 to not include camera shots. And so I got reamed for it, actually. School of Hard Knocks as a teen getting into this writing thing. And so if you're a brand new writer, I would tell you the same. Take those out of there. People don't tend to like them. I would say when absolutely necessary, use them. Or if you're financing and funding and shooting this thing yourself and you're writing this script to be your shooting script, then by all means have at it, okay? But typically with industry standard, we don't tend to include those camera shots. Some people even make a case for we don't include those cuts, which I showed you guys before, I think last week, maybe a week before, with the smash cut and all that stuff. Some people argue, don't put that in there either. It is what it is, okay? So what they did to really put us into that world is everything is really from a POV, first person point of view, to where we're starting off upside down. We're pulling back to seeing who we are, if I'm being honest, if we're overanalyzing this, who we are as this man who's hanging upside down. And then we're also seeing his entire situation, which was cool. I'm not gonna lie, it was actually really cool. Because I have in here the notes, he looks down and we see the street. He lifts his head up and we see his leg tied to a rope. So we're really getting that POV, right? We're already in the midst of peril and chaos within the first scene of this series, okay? And he's tied off on the side of a building. Then we start to see, who's in control here, who has the power. We're not in a position of power when we start off. And so we see the establishing shot of a white man looking down from the top of the skyscraper at his prey. And that's exactly what I wrote, because that's what it looked like when I saw it. He begs for his life, saying he wasn't there. White man stares at him wearing a leather coat with matching gloves. Even I notated the outfits and all these things to really see these details. Now, I have not read this script. I don't even know where to go get it right now. I don't tend to go track down these TV scripts, but I am curious now that I'm rereading this a year later, what was in that script. Because even reading this now, this sounds great. And so even being this descriptive would be awesome. And so he glances down and we see a gas can on the roof next to him. He reaches for it. Again, I was typing fast, so that should have an X there. We'll just fix that. There we go. And then back to the POV. So for a moment, we get to see, okay, thanks. For a moment, we get to see, the predator, if you will, and who he is, establishing that and establishing that he means business. And now we sink back into our body, and now we're back into danger. And so now he's pouring gasoline on us and we're screaming. And then he lights a match and lights the rope on fire because he likes to see the slow burn, folks. And then the victim screams in agony, writhing in the air. The fire from the rope makes it break. And the on-fire man screams as he plummets to the ground. I can't remember whether or not we still had a POV, but it was gnarly. I'm not gonna lie. If you're gonna open a show, that was dope. So after that, we get the usual flashback. So now we know, oh, this isn't in present time. This is the future. Sad face. Okay. So now we get a title card that says 1 week earlier. That's what a super is. Let me scroll up here. And a man sits in his house staring at a gun. His phone lights up with a job. So now we start to go through, okay, whoever this character is that we're going to follow around, get a glimpse of the ordinary world through this character's eyes. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, then I would say your job is to really learn about storytelling before you get overzealous and try to write a script. Okay. I would say write a treatment, write a short story, whatever it is you want to write to get your words out and just tell your story and see how that flows. But then when it's time to do bigger things like flesh this out into a script, I would spend a year, 2 years learning that structure, reading different things. There's clubhouses, there's podcasts, there's all kinds of stuff available for you guys now. Like I said, I learned all this stuff back when I was 15. Being a nerd / superior athlete, and just putting my ear to the ground, absorbing all of this. This was my life, folks. Anyway, so now we go through the story, and the story itself, I remember I was like, okay, this is very just cathartic. We're going through the motion. He's in a trailer. He's in a park. He's doing this. He's doing that. Some other kid comes up, and then finally we get a little action in scene 6. Goon confronts him in the car, asking him what he's doing here. Okay. Then scene 7, boom, somebody gets shot. Okay. And the guy runs off with the money. I would say that was probably the inciting incident at that point. Okay. So what was weird to me was Darren, I can't remember what OM is. I'm sure if I watched it again. Oh, probably older male versus younger male, YM and OM, runs to the car and doesn't shoot the guy who got hit with the car, which I thought was weird. I was like, I don't know why you don't shoot that guy. He's clearly up to no good, but whatever. And he sees you running to the car, but okay. So then after that, we get the title card, Gangs of London. Okay. So now we're back in it. A whole different scene. Got a family exiting a car. I was trying to pick up on the names, but sometimes I don't have the closed captioning on to pick up on names. So I think it was Darren and Sean something. Yeah, I couldn't even make it out. And he sits in a bathtub having flashbacks to lighting that dude on fire. Okay, so now we're back to the bad guy who lit the dude on fire. And then his mom comes in and grabs his clothes. So he lives at home. All right. So cute black kid gets suited up by Uncle Alex. I said it looks like a foster kid situation because I couldn't understand, like, why was this white man with this little black kid? So a lot of it too is me just writing down like, okay, I'm confused. I don't know what's happening right here. And the reason why I feel like this is important is a lot of times this happens with your scripts. We had just had a meeting about a script that we analyzed, and it was the same thing. There were certain cuts back and forth and certain similar names. Name similarity is an issue as well, just so you know, to where there was some confusion. So we understand premise, we understand structure. And so a lot of times, if it's a good premise, I can see when it's a good premise, meaning it's a great story idea. The idea of the story is great. It could be something as simple as, a grandmother uses a wheelchair for the first time. Oh my God, that's brilliant, amazing. We've never seen a TV show like that. That's such a strong premise, right? It's a prime example. It's not, but you get what I'm saying. But then you can have things that just go wrong with dialogue, the character, and then the overall structure, meaning how the story all weaves together. Okay. And so again, I implore you, rather than reaching out to my agency to tell me you need an agent, make sure you understand this stuff the way I understand this stuff before you approach me. Now, if you want to waste CAA and WME's time, have at it. Okay. All right. So we progress, and by the time we get done with this thing, it looks like we were about 28 beats in. And so since this, I clocked the runtime at 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I think that was with commercials. I can't remember. That's a little long. Shows now are running damn near like 42 minutes. Commercials have gotten so long. Back in my day, it was like 44 minutes and like 35 seconds or something. Very succinct. But this is an hour-long drama, and so if you say, okay, 60 pages typically equals 60 minutes, that's what you're taught as a script supervisor, a page a minute. This is about, 2 to 3 pages per scene, so if you double that, you're getting about, 60 pages based off of the 28 beats, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to be too long-winded with this because I have a meeting, but I wanted to point this out to you guys for any of you that are struggling with the concept of beating out shows, and I recommend you do this. One of the exercises that we did at UCLA was when we were writing our scripts, our first, was it quarter? Yeah, they do quarters. Our first quarter, we were to find movies. This was for screenwriting, is what I went to UCLA for. We were to find movies that were similar or in the vein of, if you ever heard that, to what it is that we were writing on. And so beating those out and seeing that structure and seeing, what worked for them was kind of the idea behind that. And so I do recommend that for you guys that are new writers. I do this, as you can see, sometimes I'll just sit down and beat something out. I actually want to do this with a series that I'm rewatching right now. There's an episode that I just turned on that I paused and I was like, you know what, this is the episode I want to beat out, because it was a very, very sensationalized, epic, sweep type episode. And I actually kind of want to see it in a linear format. And you can do this by hand. A lot of these, I actually would just sit there with a composition book on my couch and write them out by hand and then type them up afterward. With this one, with the Chromebook, because it can turn into a tablet kind of thing, I just kind of started dealing with that. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. You can even do note cards. Like sometimes I just want to put stuff on note cards and then just hang them up on the wall, or I have a cork board, that kind of thing. So there's lots of ways that you can do this, but I do highly recommend it for those of you that are curious about writing and really want to write something, but you're not quite sure how to start or how to begin. I would say this is an excellent exercise for you to get used to that structure and format. Thank you so much, Chandler Bolt. And with that, folks, I bid you adieu. Really got to get better at this whole exit thing.